All right, buddy. Welcome to another edition of the Leadership Blend television show with your, I think I've transcended past amazing to just gracious host, Ricardo D. Rice. And this is episode 19, so we're coming to the end of season 2. But I have enjoyed guests, but don't you fret. I have great guests coming, and today is going to be no different. So I'm not going to prolong it. I call him the Love Guru. I don't know if we've gotten there yet, but I call him the Love Guru. And he's going to be talking to us today about all of you that are in ministries and just how do you find love outside of God's love? Because all of us desire potential mates if we're honest about it. And today you're going to be honest about it. So without further ado, I'm going to let him introduce himself and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you for having me on, Ricardo. My name is Byron Jamal. I'm a former pastor turned love and success coach, and I help ordinary people find extraordinary love and find balance between their love and success.
He has it down to a science. I just love when he words that. But it's so much more than that. We won't really get into it. So let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about your past in the church.
Yes.
Let's talk about that, because that's a big ordeal for many of us, because I'm Baptist, apostolic, all that good stuff. So I've seen it both. So I know mine will pale in comparison to yours. So let's start with your whole church ordination.
Well, let's start from the very beginning. I was actually adopted and placed in a nunnery before I was officially adopted. So my early days were right in the church. Literally living in a church.
I did not know that.
From there, I grew up. My parents had just gotten saved. So they were, when people first get saved, they're real into church. So, So they were there as much as possible as you could be at a Presbyterian, because it's not like a Kojic church where you're there every single day.
Literally.
But then we grew up Presbyterian. Then when we moved to Charlotte from Hartford, Connecticut, we actually started in a Baptist church. Where my family was, or my adopted family's side. My great aunt played the piano, and my uncle played the organ for the church. So we went to that good old Baptist church from there. I grew up in it. I was the youth choir president. I was the youth ministry president. I was licensed at that church. And when I went to college, I ended up taking over a few youth ministries there, college ministries in school, 3 different churches. And I got affiliated with a non-denominational church that was growing, and I worked with a Kojic church, so I got introduced to the Pentecostal side. From there, I became a senior adjutant for one of the head bishops in the area, and I became ordained. I moved to D.C., took over a church as their Christian education pastor, did that for several years. Then eventually I just got frustrated and left the church. Best days of my life.
Okay, you win. Like, I thought me switching from Baptist to apostolic was a big ordeal, but clearly you win. Tell me about the frustration. What was at the core of the frustration?
Well, the frustration is what I talk about in my new book, Selflove, about everyone was wearing a mask. The truth is everyone was wearing a mask, from the clergy in the pulpit to the people in the pulpit, in the pews. Everyone was wearing a mask, and it was so easy to do, because you were told to come in with this best version of yourself, but we're also taught conflictingly that the church is a hospital. I don't normally see too many people coming into hospitals trying to look good. The point is to get healed. And so the mentality that we have is so backwards when you walk into a church. It's like, I gotta come in with the best suit, I gotta come in with the best hair, I gotta come in with the best makeup, I gotta come in looking like I got it together, but yet I'm here to get something to make me better. And so you're walking in confused already. And so it's hard to go into a classroom where you feel like you're supposed to already know the information.
Nice. This is very true. All right, so the notion of love and marriage in the church, you've seen almost 4 different denominations. Mm-hmm. Is it taught the same, or is it different?
For the most part, the same. There's a little more flexibility in certain denominations that allow for more fluidity in love. People who are able to go out to different places and together get to know each other outside of the church. But there are some very strict churches that are denominational teachings that teach you meet your mate in church, you go to church, and that's where you kind of date in church. So it's bad to even go to movies and things of that nature. So yeah, there's some different teachings, and they have their different degrees based on how strict they are in their religious preference.
Do you think that's one of the issues in the church, is that a lot of these denominations are not allowed to date? It's just that God sends this individual, which I've never really understood. I do, but I don't. And you don't really get to court to get to know them. It's just this is what God says. You two are to be together, and you get married.
Yeah, I agree. This is why so many people, because of that same teaching, they apply it to their professional lives too. They find a job and they immediately just jump in. They don't really vet it. They don't do their research. It's the same mentality. You have to take time to get to know something if it's going to be something in your life for a while. I don't even get a new app if I'm choosing between, like I was researching earlier, a text messaging app that I want to start using. And I was doing hours of research this morning, and I'll probably be doing it for the next 2 weeks before I decide on one. Because I don't allow anything that I'm going to implement into my life to be something that I hastily choose. We don't teach that in church, unfortunately. We say that this divine person walked into your life right now, accept them, embrace them, and acclimate them into who you are and into who you're going to be. None of that works. You barely know yourself well enough to do that. So I doubt you want to do that with another human being.
Marriage counseling. Mm-hmm. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that because we need to take a break. Because if I get into this, we going to go. So we're going to take our first break. And when we come back, we're going to have more with Byron Jamal on the Leadership Event television show with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. All right, so we're back with our guest today, and we're talking about love. All right, so when we left, I was going to ask you about marriage counseling. Last week, Montisa was here, and she's a marriage restoration coach, and we were talking about her and her husband going to premarital counseling, all the good stuff. I'm sure it helps, but does it make a huge difference in your opinion? Because you've seen it across the board.
Yeah, I have, and I get couples that come to me and often they've already made up their mind. So the problem with marriage counseling is really the people are saying, we're going to do this. So bless this so we can get married, right? Like that's really what they're coming in. This is why individuals need their separate love coaching or some kind of individual system to understand their own unique love journey and how it fits into someone else's life, because then you can better understand how this relationship is working for you and how it can move forward in a healthy and secure way, so that when you actually come into a marriage counseling session, if you want to call it that, I would call it just a joint love therapy session. But if you were to come into that, it wouldn't be to get approval because you already feel it. It would be to get clarity about how to best move forward and to minimize some of the pitfalls that the traditional relationship is always going to have.
All right, so let's get into the notion of love. Mm-hmm. What does love mean to you? Because I think of you like Cupid. It's kind of poetic in a sense. What does love mean to you?
Love to me is simply alignment. Love is being aligned with who you are, what made you, and with other people. It is the ability to be completely and holistically aligned with what you're called to be and do in the earth.
So what started your journey to want to kind of be a love coach in essence?
I started off doing leadership in church. That was like my primary thing, teaching about leadership. And then I realized as we are transitioning from working in big corporations and having training manuals and training sessions all the time, we are learning now to have to, as we're more entrepreneurs and people who are kind of doing their own thing, you may not have that on-the-job training. So learning to be what I call now self-leader, where you are able to lead your own life and lead your own path and learn how to get up on time, how to manage your schedule, do your budget. Like these are things that traditionally they just taught you what to do this, and now you have to do this on your own. For many people who are out there, and many like pastors, it's the same thing. There's no training for that says this is how you wake up each day as a pastor and leave each day. So this is how you manage your money. This is how you do your budget. So I fell into it because I realized that people needed something more than just I do this. This is who I am. They needed, this is who I am, but this is why I love who I am. And finding the love in life, not just the success in life, not just the renown in life, not just the celebration in life, but falling in love with your life. That's why I fell in love with the work I do, because I wanted to fall in love with my own path.
All right. What are some of the pitfalls that you see that people, and I'll use myself as an example, which is very rare. Those of us who are trying to build something, we typically don't, and you talked about this when you were with us on the radio show about making space for love. It kind of stuck with me because I'm like, we do make space for a lot of things, but when you're an entrepreneur, which many of us are, love is not one of those things that's on that agenda. How much of a difference does it make? What are some of the pitfalls that you see that entrepreneurs make as it pertains to love or finding an ideal mate?
Absolutely. Number one, it would be thinking that you can't find balance. See, when you approach something with a certain mindset, you're already preventing yourself from reaching it. We often see in our lives what we think. And so if you're already thinking you can't balance it, you won't. I always tell my clients, if they think something, they're right. Because that's what you're going to see in your life. If you think different, you'll have different. So the first pitfall would simply be just change your thinking. Stinking thinking also always leads to poor outcomes. So I would have you immediately change how you think and how you talk about a thing. And that's the second thing, how you speak. You know, I tell my clients now to shut up sometime, like just be silent. Don't say anything. If it's, growing up, they'd say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And it's a great principle to exercise in everything in your life. Because if you literally have nothing good to say about the outcome, oh, there's no good people out there. How does that help you? Oh, I'm too busy to find somebody. How does that help you? It doesn't. All it does is help the outcome you've been getting. It will never help you get the outcome you want.
So this is based on law of attraction, that what you believe exudes from who you are, and that's what you attract.
You can call that. I call it the law of love, because ultimately the law of attraction is really the law of love, because everything moves in love. God is love. And when you think of it that way, every connection that is in the universe is based on love. Anything that's created is created out of love. Everything that's created is created out of the necessity for its existence. So that means it's created out of love. Any interaction, this moment, is created out of love. The love that you have for the work that you do, the love I have for the work that I do, and the way that now puts us in the same space is all the efforts of love.
We're going to take a break because my wheels are turning and I have to get it all out of him while I have him. So we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more with our guests on today on the Leadership and Television Show with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. Okay, so in this segment, now we're gonna get into this notion of making space for love. How do you create that platform or open yourself to love? So this is all about you showing us how to build and make space for this stuff. So I'll turn to you.
Sure. So I would start with, do you have a clear picture of what your week looks like? How things fit into your week already? How much time do you dedicate to things that don't mean much? And in those spaces, finding how to flip the wasted time into time that you can open up for someone else. I think most people think that they have to cancel out the things that they love doing or cancel out the things that are important to them in order to add love, when really you have a lot of wasted time throughout the day. So it's number one would be getting a better handle of your own personal schedule and calendar. And once you do that, now you can start introducing someone else into the picture, because you know how much time you have and where they can fit. Most people aren't intentional about that. They just say, hey, I'll hit you up when I have time. And they really don't say when they have time.
The Atlanta kiss of death.
And they don't know when they have time. That's why it's the kiss of death, because they really don't know. So it's taking personal accountability of your personal schedule so that then you can incorporate someone else in. Just like with your job, you know if you want to work a morning shift, a first shift, a second shift, or a third shift based on the other things that you have going on in your life. You know if you go to church on Sunday, you know if you can go to when you should go to the gym, you know when you can squeeze in food, you know when you can sit and watch Netflix and chill, you know based on your schedule. You have to know your schedule. So that's number one. I think a lot of people struggle just right there. And so if you skip that and you just jump into opening your heart to the possibility of someone else, you are already setting yourself up at a handicap.
Let me ask you this before we go any further. Is there a mindset that I should have even before I start doing that? Is there a mindset to get me more receptive to love that I should have already in mind or already be in that space before I do any of this?
Yes. So if I were a fitness coach, I would probably tell you to get motivated by looking in the mirror, butt naked. I would probably say get butt naked in the mirror and literally look at yourself and see who you want to be, how you want to look. Is this who you want to be? No. Okay, so let me get my little tail on down to this gym so that I can handle what I need to handle. When you look at yourself in the mirror, butt naked if you need to, and you say, I'm alone, I don't have anyone, I don't want this life, my bed is cold, whatever it is, whatever motivates you, that's what you got to keep putting in your face. The same thing I would say about food. If you know that eating bad food you got to stand in the grocery aisle and stand and look at those vegetables and just say, you know what, you got to be my best friend.
All right, who talked to him about me on the set about my poor eating habits? That's really random that you chose that. So who was talking? I'm going to fire everybody when it's over with.
In right now.
Yeah, clearly, because you had to come down literally my aisle about poor eating. Carry on.
I'm doing coaching sessions too. Like, you all in my business. But yeah, that's what you do. You have to find the motivators that keep you focused on what you really want. Because there's so many things. I tell my clients, stop watching movies that are depressing. Stop watching breakup movies. Stop listening to music that talks about breaking up and heartbreak. Start putting positive things around you. Start creating an environment of peace and love is possible. And I welcome love into my.
So you're telling me that I can watch The Wedding Planner. I can continue to watch The Wedding Planner with Jennifer Lopez and Matthew McConaughey.
That's a good one.
I was about to say, because
New York, it wasn't made in Manhattan. That was another.
Yeah, but that's the whole pretty girl ideology of being a maid and some rich person finding you. The Wedding Planner is a nice centered movie that makes you believe in love again. So you're telling me it's okay to watch that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's perfect.
That's what I make sure. No, Luther, for a person that's single, what is Luther going to do for somebody that's single?
Starting putting the energy into what you want. So what do they say? When you want to get to a new level, you start dressing like the level you want to get to. Mm-hmm. You start living like you want to live with somebody. You don't just one day wake up and start, I got this man in my house, or I got this woman in my house. No, you start making space. You start clearing out drawers. You start making space in your closet now.
See, I've heard that from a marriage perspective. I never heard that from a dating perspective.
Yeah, because dating leads to what?
Hopefully marriage.
Well, that's the goal. So you start now. You start thinking that way, living that way, acting that way. You know, it's so funny. I said it to a client today. I said, you're such an amazing single that you're an unattractive dater. Like, you look so good as a single. You look amazing. Like your social media, you look like you're having the best time of your life single. You are having the best time of your life. You look like somebody that's an amazing single. But nobody wants to be with an amazing single. They want to be with somebody who looks like they would be a great date. I
do not like that statement. Like, that's something to actually think about. How do you even change something like that? Like, if I'm genuine, because self-love is at the core of love.
Yes.
So how do I change people's perception if I actually genuinely enjoy myself?
If you follow people who are in healthy relationships, people that don't overpost their relationship, but still have solo pics of themselves, what do they look like? What kind of boundaries do they put up? What pictures won't they post because they're in a relationship? Start modeling that. So like the people who post basically naked pictures online, like, nobody, that's cute to look at. And you get a lot of likes and a lot of hearts and all those things. But the average person's going to think, and it's so funny because I interviewed a young man named Fredo who is a internet sensation, basically on social media, and he posted his picture. He said, "What do I look like, a heartbreak or no?" And everybody said, "Heartbreak, heartbreak, heartbreak," because he had his shirt off and his muscles and all that, and he looked like somebody that would break a heart. Like that, nobody wants. It's cute to look at, but it's not something that someone who's serious about wanting a long-term relationship is going to gravitate towards.
Okay, that last little synopsis alone is enough for us to take a break, because now I need to go wash my face, because that just cracked my face. All right, so we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, we'll have more with our guests on the Leadership Blend television show with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. Okay, so we had to take a break because somebody used a term that I am still like, we're going to get through this last segment, but he knows after this is over with, we having it out. Amazing single. All right, so go over that one more time, because that's, I don't think anybody's ever heard that, and that blew me.
Yeah, you can be such an amazing single that you're not a good dater. You can be so attractive as a single that you're unattractive as a dater. I mean, it's a reverse of it. When you are such an amazing couple, nobody wants to date you, right? Because you shouldn't be dateable. You should be looking like you're so into your relationship. And we do that in singleness too. We become so good at it. All our posts say, "Hey, I'm living my best life. I'm doing me. I'm good enough as I am. I don't need nobody to make me better." These are things that we put out there. And so somebody's saying, "Okay, cool, and do you?" And I'll go on to someone who feels like they want someone to do them with.
So how do you alter that space? Like, if that's the space that you put yourself in, like, how do you alter that space? Do you just...
Same thing I would say if I was a fitness coach. I would say you make the change starting today. You change the habits starting now. Once you awaken to the reality that you've been doing it incorrectly, that you've been doing it poorly, it's starting to do it at that moment. You just ate some Chick-fil-A fried chicken just the other day, but you can change it in the next meal. So it's the next post. It's the next words that you say. It's the next conversation you have.
So I need to start going to restaurants and taking a picture of me eating alone and saying, "Sure, it'd be nice to have another partner." To have a partner.
You can post something slick like, I'm sitting at a table alone, but there's definitely another chair for one. Something smooth. You can still say you're having a good time by yourself, but still open to the possibility of having someone else.
There's got to be a fine line between desperation and attracting what you want. There's got to be.
I don't know anyone who has ever achieved anything amazing that wasn't desperate in some sort. I don't know anybody who didn't work for a business or build up the corporate ladder or develop a new product and weren't in some way, we call it hustling, trying to make something happen. I don't know anybody who didn't put some blood, sweat, and tears into stuff to really get what they want if it was worth it. If it's worth it, then you'll do what it takes. And if it makes you look quote unquote desperate, I'm not saying post on there, "Please somebody love me." I'm saying, say that you love yourself, but say that you're also open. Say that the doors, and what we say in church, the doors of the church are open. Say that the house is open. Say that the land is free. Say that there's another seat in my living room for you. Say that that's possible. People just need to know that you're available. I don't think anybody tries to hire somebody who's already hired somewhere. So they need to know that you're single. Number one, a lot of people don't even know people are single. A lot of people don't post their relationships. So you could already be in a relationship. So you have to post at least that you're available and that you're open to the possibility.
He's trying to throw my whole Monday off. He's trying to throw my whole Monday off.
I'm getting it aligned.
Yeah, he's trying to throw off my whole Monday. Okay, so let's go back to the list you started with the understanding your schedule. So what will be after that?
So once you understand your schedule and once you realize that you really want to be open to it and you start putting that out there, then it's a matter of engaging people, trying new things, diversifying your portfolio. So that means trying new spaces, trying new people, trying new types of people, engaging in different types of conversations, learn something new. In fact, the best way to do this is to try something completely new. Go to a completely new place you've never gone before. Sit at a bar you've never sat at before. If you don't drink, get an appetizer. But just engage new spaces and new places and new types of people, because the limiting of yourself will always cause you to miss opportunities that were right in front of your face. There are so many people who are married today and have had long-term relationships who are living in the space where they found a connection outside of compatibility, where they realized that I thought that I needed this person who was a Christian, and I'm fine with a Muslim. I realized that I thought I needed someone who was Black, but I realized I can date someone who's white. They realized that the compatibility factor is not as important as the connection that's deeper than that.
All right, let's get into your extensive author library.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about your books. Well, let's talk about what you have going outside of the books.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your show that you do.
Sure. I have right now The Heart, which is going to be coming back next month. It's a show where I get a chance to interview amazing people, and we talk love and success and how they balance that, since that's the work that I do. A lot of times it turns into a live love coaching session, but it's fun because people who don't ordinarily get a chance to talk about love in this kind of space have an opportunity to vent. And what's funny is it's so crazy because even these most professional celebrity style people, they end up stuttering when talking about love. And it just shows you how little we really dive into the topic. Then I have Mogul in the Making, which is something that airs every other Monday. It's something that I started because I needed a space for me, really, to have camaraderie and a safe space to be able to share with other professionals and entrepreneurs, a safe space to share networks and best hacks and tricks and tips and things of how to really maximize business. A lot of times we feel like we should know, like we should just have it together. And that's not true. So it's a safe space for that. And so we bring in experts and we have a new topic. So the one that we'll be doing absolutely in this next segment will be on social media and how to maximize that. We touch on networking and other things. So it's a fun space. It's a Facebook group, so you can definitely join that. Feel free. You're already in, so thank you for being a part of the group.
Oh yeah,
yeah, you are.
Am I in?
I already know.
I'm gonna say, you sure?
I didn't pop in.
Oh, okay. Well, if you saw it, it's. I see the people that are in my circle. If I see something they're doing, and it's as simple as a click, I click.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I'm in it, I'm in it.
Yes.
But yeah, okay.
We appreciate your presence.
I don't know if I'm gonna still be in after the day. I mean, I don't know if I'm still be after the day, but you know, it's fine. It is. All right. So you recently just did a book.
Yes.
Let's talk about that book.
So the book that's going to be coming out now is all about self-love. It's the 7 ultimate steps to self-love. I realized I have a lot of clients and they talk about, after I did this book, Successful Love, I realized that a lot of people struggle with self-love more than anything else. The most successful people, I mean, still have these buckets of with holes in it, just leaking out love. And so I needed to create a roadmap to help people figure out if their love levels were high enough to say that they were high. A lot of people realize, I really don't love myself the way I ought to. And they don't realize it until they get in a relationship and they lose themselves. And they're like, how did I lose myself? Because you didn't love yourself. You can't lose yourself when you love yourself. Personally, I've never really lost anything I really, really loved. So when you love yourself, it's hard to lose yourself. And so that's why it's important to have the self-love together before you even start engaging in the relationship process.
Oh, we can get a snippet out. Now I'm curious. What is, I don't want you to.
So I can just tell you this. I pull it from the original, as I mentioned earlier, God is love. So I actually pull it from the creation story. And I talk about how in the 7 steps of what I call the creation of life, we actually see how God took out of darkness and made in darkness the light and everything else that followed it. I'll give you the first step, which is acceptance. When it says in the very beginning that God created the darkness, God created light, but before God created the light, it was dark. In that first verse, it tells us that the earth was void and dark. God accepted that. A lot of us don't accept that we have some void, dark places in our lives. We start trying to create light, but don't accept the darkness. We want to create something new, but we don't want to understand where we are and what we're starting. Everything starts somewhere. And the only way to really know where you're going, like when I came into the studio, it asked me for my starting point. And accepting your starting point is how you best get to your final destination. And so that's why you have to accept where you are. So God accepted the darkness. And out of that, the next thing God was able to do was then articulate into the darkness what God wanted. God didn't complain about the darkness, accepted the darkness, and then spoke what he wanted. But you can't speak what you want until you know what you have.
Ugh. I'm so over you today. Okay, in a good way. I'm so over you in a good way. All right, so give me an example about what you just said. Give me an example like somebody that you may have coached at, so people can kind of grasp, which I get it, but an example I'll find always helps.
Yes, I have a client named Cynthia. She was, at the time, 52, and her husband had passed. Mm-hmm. And so she was coming back into the dating space. Now, she just wanted to jump back out there and just start dating again, because after taking a 5-year lapse in between the loss of her husband and dating again, so 5-year kind of blank space, she just wanted to start dating again. And the danger of that, as I told her, was she wasn't accepting not only the loss, but also the 5-year gap, and accepting that dating had changed, and accepting that she had changed, and accepting that people have changed. Accepting that the online platforms have changed. So it starts with accepting what is and being real about it, because she was bringing a 1980s approach to 2020, and that was
catastrophic.
Yeah, because her starting point was false. So yeah, and like if I ordered an Uber and and I said pick me up from home and I'm not home, that doesn't do me any good. Like,
that was dangerously specific. That was dangerously specific.
It does me no good. So you got to know where you're starting from. If you're wanting to put words into the universe, if you're wanting to have something come to you, it has to know where you are to meet you, to get you where you're going.
Okay. How do people get in touch with you?
Easily at byronjamal.com. Also at Byron Jamal on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I am easy to find, actually. I'm very accessible. I love to talk. I also do on every Tuesday, you can find me at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Love Talk Tuesdays, where I go live, and I'm able to really go directly in to help people find out what they need in their love lives. We talk about everything. Our next topic is actually going to be how to attract the man that you deserve. So I'm looking forward to doing that. ByronJamal.com. Find me, connect with me. I love to help ordinary people find extraordinary love.
Okay, so final nuggets for those that are watching that say, you know what? Maybe I'm an amazing single and I don't want to be that person or somebody that says maybe I'm ready to love again. What would be your advice or some steps that you may be able to facilitate?
So first, I will say this. You are worth the love you seek. So whatever you seek, that's what you're worth. And if you seek low love, that's how you feel about yourself. If you seek higher love, that's what you feel about yourself. So you are worth the love you seek. Seek higher love. Trust that you are worth the best and don't settle for anything less than that. Give yourself the grace to be flawed in the process. Give yourself the grace to figure stuff out along the way and not have all the answers. But try, go, do, be, meet people, connect with people, and allow people to have no expectations in your mind. Just want to connect with people because they're people, good people, and to see where it goes from there. I think a lot of people mess up when they start dating because they're saying, this is the one, this is my man, this is my woman, and they start claiming people, but people aren't products. People are people. And you have to allow people to organically connect with you, and the labels that are placed should be defined together and not apart.
True words have never been spoken. So special thanks to our guest today, Mr. Byron Jamal. Thank you for being with, I call him the Love Guru, for being with us today. And we will see you guys next Monday, same time, same place on the Leadership Blend television show with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.